Andy, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for meeting up with me and chatting with me.
Oh yeah, we're here to talk about the re-education of Molly Singer. It's a new film that's going to be out in theaters, digital and on demand on September 29th. It was a lot of fun. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, this was a project that came to me from Todd Friedman, who I had edited a film that he had done a few years earlier, and we sort of hit it off. And he knew that I wanted to direct a comedy, and so he's like, "Oh, I wrote a comedy a while back. What do you?" And he said he sent it my way, and it was actually called The Re-Education of David Singer. It was like sort of a male-driven comedy. And I really I love the premise. I was like, oh, it's weird. I was like, oh, it's like weird science in college. This is great. Except for, we didn't make Molly in a lab or anything like that or on our computer. But I was like, yeah, I think we could take this. I was like, what if we flipped it and this was like, and instead of David, it's a female, and we just kind of like we sort of modernized the humor a little bit and stuff like that. And he and Kevin were game, and that's sort of how it all happened. We reworked the script, and Molly Singer was born.
Yeah, it's a really fun topic to explore because we go through these years in college, and then all of a sudden we're an adult. And I think the premise of Molly going from the party life to a lawyer, is pretty extreme.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about exploring that theme?
Yeah, I think the idea is that we always have this like sort of romantic time in our lives, like, oh, this was the best time in our lives and stuff like that. And it's like sort of those like most carefree times because you with adulthood begets a responsibility, right? And so I think Molly just hasn't come to grips with, and I think really what it comes down to is that she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing. She's doing what she thinks she's supposed to be doing or what other people have told her to do. And that's really sort of like the theme of the movie is this idea that like you can discover who you are at any phase of your life. You're not I think there's so much pressure put on you when you're young to be like, what are you going to do? And that's what you're going to do for the rest of your life. And that's just not real. It's like we change jobs, we change careers and stuff like that. And I think that's a more of a generational thing. I mean, both my parents they did their exact same job, up to retirement the whole time. And me, I've, done everything from real estate videos. I edit reality shows. I like everything is sort of in this bubble of entertainment, but I'm constantly like changing, trying new things and stuff like that. And I think that's part of my journey for, discovering who I am, and that's really what it's about is figuring out who the heck you are. Buddy. Sorry. Buddy. Buddy.
No, it's
My
okay.
dog's my dog's having a little moment back there.
I just shoot away my cat as well because that's why my went that way. I was like, not now, man. It's all right. They also I guess want a little bit of time to express
Oh yeah.
themselves. Yes, yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because I'm 35 now, just a couple of days ago, but I've switched careers.
Happy
This is
birthday.
my third time, but I think
Yep.
this one's gonna stick now that I'm really settled in. But yeah, my degree has nothing to do with what I'm doing now, and I'm okay with that.
Yep.
And like you said, it's interesting to see like what you just said about Molly, where she's supposed to be doing one thing, but she's still kind of stuck in the past, and maybe that's why she hasn't necessarily found her groove in her next stage of life
Yep.
because the pieces don't fit. Do you think that's correct?
Yeah, I think that it's like you dedicate so much of your time to, especially when you're young, to your job and stuff like that. But if you don't enjoy it, then it's just like that sort of angst has to get released somewhere. And for Molly, it was like, oh, when I was in college, I was the queen of campus, and I did this rage. So if I go back to that, it'll just feel better, right?
Mhm.
And so, but it can be anything for anyone, and for her, yeah, it's just about figuring out that like on her day to day, what she's really good at is being around people and making them their best, and that's the thing is like she says to Elliot in the scene right before the boost cathlon, she's like you don't it's weird being around people when they're at their worst. Like not only is she like not like she's not a lawyer fighting for justice, she's a lawyer fighting for the smart toaster. And so it's like every single day is her sitting in a room with people that are at their worst, and that is just not the way that she's built, because what Molly does is bring out the best in everyone. And so she's just caught in the complete wrong thing.
Yeah, and then that can happen.
Yep. Yep.
I'm really interested in talking about your process in making sure you have a well balanced film, because in a comedy like this, it's real easy for it to go maybe over the top or just not go far enough. So where in your process do you find your sweet spot?
Yeah, I did a horror comedy a few years ago called The Funhouse Massacre, and I'll never forget sitting at we were at Robert Kurtzman, who's he's a legendary makeup artist and stuff like that. He did all of our creature effects, and I remember sitting in his office and we were talking about like the level of gags, the level of gore and stuff like that. And I said, for this movie, it's a fish story, right? So it's like it has to be like it's taking something to the point where it's like, well, I caught a fish and it was this big, and it has to be big enough to seem amazing, but it can't be too big that people go, that's bull. And so that's the way that I approach Molly Singer too, where it's like we take it over the top to the point where people go, okay, that's just super corny. And the moment that I feel like the fish has gotten too big, then we start to reel it back in. And I think the key with comedy is that you try to play everything straight. You try to play everything not tonally serious, but not jokey. And if you're not being jokey, then the jokes just hit that much harder.
And how does it help to have someone like Britt and Nico Santos,
Yeah, I mean,
Britt Robertson to kind of play off of each other?
it's like that makes my job so ridiculously easy, because and my philosophy in directing is I really try to cast as best as I humanly can, because on independent film you don't have a lot of time usually, and B, these are people that are just so like, when I went and visited Britt the first day we were in Atlanta, Britt and Nico and I sat down and we were just at the hotel in like the rec area, and we just read the script to each other. And I'm looking at Britt's script, and it is just, you can't even see the words anymore, because it was just scribbles and notes and beats and broken down and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, I'm the director and I don't even do that, And it's just like, when you have people like that are so good and so trained, and they just, yeah, as a director, that makes your life a lot easier.
And also, I'm always love it when at the end of films people put like gag reels and the
Yeah,
bloopers. So it looks like you guys did have quite a bit of fun on film. What was that?
it was.
What was that like?
I think the hardest part of the movie was editing the gag reel, because there were so many. Like, it was like, oh, do we do this one? Oh, we should do this one. I mean, it was like we had, my goal going into the movie was really giving the actors freedom and repetition. So what I did is, when Philippe, the DP, and I sat down, we really limited setups. We didn't do like a ton of crazy shots. We didn't do a lot of crazy setups, with the idea that like, we're going to give the actors time to do repetition. So we shot 2 camera on everything. I shot on zoom lenses, so we didn't have to be swapping out lenses when we were changing focal lengths or anything like that. And then really what that did is it gave the actors takes. And so like every scene, had like 7 or 8 takes, which on a David Fincher movie is like, what did you do after, what did you do after lunch? But for me, 7 or 8 takes is like, oh my God, this is a treasure trove of stuff, that's like, usually I do, we do 1 or 2 and we're like, moving on, So yeah, just to be able to give them that freedom to play around, try lines and stuff like that were, that became their characters so much, so much better than Todd or Kevin and I could ever imagine on the page.
Now that's what I really, really enjoy and appreciate from indie films, is that a lot of people really just judge the final product sometimes, but they do not understand the amount of work and the amount of challenges that you guys have to overcome because of a variety of issues. Everything you can imagine that can go wrong sometimes goes wrong, and you still have to pivot and put your best foot forward to put a final product that you're proud of. Did you guys have any challenges in production?
Well, it was we're coming out of COVID. We were coming out of COVID, so things had opened back up, but it was still around, and so that's always a challenge, especially because we were working with lots of background actors, and we're lots of different casts and stuff like that. It wasn't 4 people in a room, so that was a challenge. And then we were shooting in Atlanta when everything had opened back up, so there were something like 84 other projects going on in Atlanta, and we were we were on the tail end. We were the small dog at the bowl. And so we were constantly losing crew to bigger shows. You know, I was like, I remember our AC was like, I just got a job on the Wonder Years. I love working with you guys, but that's 8-10 months of work for me. And I'm like, Godspeed, have fun. you know? And so, so that was a challenge, is kind of like bringing somebody new to the table and stuff like that. But I will say, Atlanta crews are amazing. And then our sort of core crew, our line producer, Eli, my producer, Warner, these guys are just like, they just were able to just make everything work. The law office we literally couldn't find this proper law office. We were like, we're gonna have to push this and shoot it in LA or do something. And we found it like a day before we shot it. I ran over with Philippe at lunch, shooting in the college down the street, and was like, yep, this works. Yep, this works. The production designers put it together in one day, and we were shooting there the next day. So, I mean, there were a lot of like logistical challenges, but it's like you said, every movie's like that. And man, you just gotta I have learned, you've just gotta roll with the punches. Something amazing will happen and you'll figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Every film is a miracle. I'm a news producer, and my executive producer daily says, by the time your show's over, you should feel like, it was a miracle that everything got, everything got done.
100%. 100%. I always talk about I played football in high school. I always equate filmmaking to it's like a football season. Like, you have 2-a-day football practices, you have the games, you have all the travel, and I don't know. For me, it was maybe because we were horrible, but it just wasn't fun while I was doing it. I'm in practice, I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? It's hot. I'm getting hammered by these mountainous men. I'm like, what is happening here? I'm getting crushed in the line. And then the moment the season's over, I'm like, God, that was the best time of my life. And it's all just a good experience. And the filmmaking is the same way. You're getting crushed for 4 weeks, and then the moment it's over, you just want to be back on set again.
Hey, that's how you found your passion, if you could look at it that way. Andy, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the insight on the re-education of Molly Singer. Again, it'll be out in theaters, on demand, and digital September 29th. Congrats, and we hope to talk to you again.
Manny, thank you, man. Really appreciate it, brother.
All right, take care.